That's our intro.
It's not the intro.
You can't delete our intro.
I can delete the intro. I've been gone for a week, and I can guarantee you that the intro is going to be better when I wasn't here.
This is going to be the
Well,
intro.
this is now the intro. So, there you go.
Not the intro.
This is the intro.
Thanks.
We're singing Heineken NFTs in my old Kentucky home. Kentucky.
Woo! David's back.
I'm
David
back! Oh my god!
Do the intro.
Hello, everyone. I'm back. And by me, I mean 1/3 of the triad that is Kentucky Commons Radio Hour. This is David Satterley. I'm joined by Michael Moeller, as always, and John Renane, who still needs to see his therapist.
Yeah.
But we're here again for another week. I hope you all enjoyed the episode with Kinsey Bernard.
We've gotten a lot of positive feedback, from Kinsey, but then also from you not being here. So
Yeah, I took a quick listen. I heard I was fired in the first 2 minutes,
Yeah.
and I pretty much stopped it there.
yeah, we renegotiated our contracts.
This isn't the first time this has happened, so that's just what it is. But I'm going to keep showing up until you get an EPO, which is on you.
I don't know if I know the EPO.
Oh, well, that's just like a term that like the police use for when I'm not supposed to be around people.
Okay, I get it. Okay, I'm familiar with those.
Yeah.
So tell us about Austin, David. You went down there for a little business, a little pleasure.
Yeah.
Mostly pleasure.
Well, first of all, I got this amazing...
Yeah, if you
beaver
guys
suit.
are on our Patreon, you're seeing David's beaver suit from, what's the name of that chain?
It's Boosie's?
Boosie's?
Boucher's.
Boucher's.
That was like Bucky's.
It is Bucky's.
Oh, okay, I get it. Oh, you guys are making a joke. Okay, I see.
You can't joke about Bucky's.
You can't joke about Bucky's.
Anyway, for those of you on our Patreon, you've got a onesie. Or I should say, for those of you not on our Patreon who can't see the video feed, David is in a chipmunk onesie.
Beaver
onesie.
Beaver.
Yeah.
The teeth.
Yeah, teeth.
It's a whole get up.
But it's pretty glorious. Yeah.
It's
Did
great.
you go through TSA with that, you said?
I thought about it. I was gonna have to take my shoes off.
Yeah.
It's a onesie. That would have been awkward.
You used to say beavers don't wear shoes.
You
Man.
got this at the perfect time because it's just about to become humid Kentucky weather. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be
I'm wearing
Yeah.
nothing underneath this.
Milk was a bad choice. And
Yeah.
so is like the onesie beaver suit.
But
Wow.
yeah, I would also just say if you want to see this, you should via our Patreon. We have different levels of memberships. It's patreon.com/Kentucky Commons.
For this low price of one Cumberland Red Ale a month.
Tip us a few bucks. You
Yeah.
know, like we do an okay job. So if you like the content and also want to be rewarded for the content, $3.
So what you just saw David do, basically. The
Uh,
beaver suit was open.
Hold up, what is that?
Don't give it away. Michael, I did bring you back a gift. John, I brought you back nothing.
Thank you.
Because you haven't been to therapy.
Thank you.
But they bring you back a custom tin tacker from Live Oak Brewing. They're out in Del Valle, which is a little bit outside the city, but well worth a visit.
Yeah.
World-class lagers made in traditional Polish and German styles.
It's like a USA mecca for like European like style classic beers and
Amazing.
just other good beer in general.
Great. So I did bring you back a can of Grzyski in a tin tacker.
I've
nice
gone on
tin tacker.
record saying that Grzyski is one of my favorite U.S. beers.
We tried some last week.
Made specifically by Live Oak, I mean.
Yeah.
Live Oak I love. Went to visit there once, and I need to go back. I always bother all my Austin friends to send me beer whenever they can. You know, when they come to visit, because obviously they can't ship
No,
beer.
you can't
That'd
ship,
be
no.
that'd be illegal
Mhm.
and frowned upon by certain members of certain
And
organizations.
just morally wrong.
But no, this tin tacker is awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah, that's super
Yeah.
cool.
You're welcome.
Wow.
And some of the beer to match.
Yeah, we do have one of those. We'll hang on to that for a little bit because it's a big guy. But yeah, basically went out there, had some beaver activities.
Good. Yeah, I will say like the first few days you were down there, you went to like every like Texas chain, right? Like store, restaurant.
you-
You got to Torchy's. You have to go to Torchy's.
I know.
You gotta know. So like we have a Buc-ee's in Kentucky now,
Yeah, that's
but
right.
they're across the United States. But honestly, it's like the best place you could ever go.
I've never been to one. I'm excited.
It's
to go check out
probably
the one
easier
here.
to get to the Buc-ee's in Texas than it is to get to the Buc-ee's in Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, they're doing one somewhere near here now, right?
There's one in
It's Richmond.
Richmond.
Okay, cool.
Home of Dreaming Creek.
So basically what you do is you show up to Buc-ee's with nothing besides money, and
You leave with everything and no money.
everything you need.
Yeah.
Period. They have everything from homemade jams to sausages to just grab and go pork, brisket, whatever. And drinks aplenty, camping equipment, beaver
Onesies.
suits. Yeah.
So what makes it different than Walmart?
Honestly,
It's
it's
just
just
like a
There's a
feel?
beaver, Michael.
the beaver.
There's a beaver.
You know, like that little yellow smiley face that Walmart has?
Yeah.
But a beaver.
But is it more truck stop-esque than Walmart?
I don't know if there were showers there. I've never
Is it like
taken
a
a
Love's or
shower
a
in a
Pilot?
Walmart.
It's a little bit more of like a Americana vibe than just going into a Walmart.
But is
perception.
it like a amplified version of a Love's or Pilot gas stop?
Oh, 100%.
So
will
it's
say,
more that than a Walmart.
they don't have an electronics section or a furniture section or like a home goods.
So it's like a general store gone on steroids
yeah.
and a beaver.
It's like if you were traveling in the 1800s and you walked into a town and you had a blacksmith and a merchant and an apothecary and an
Nice.
alehouse. All of those would just be Buc-ee's.
This episode of the podcast
So-
is brought to you by Buc-ee's.
So it's like a combination between like a Wawa and a Walmart.
Wawa.
Y'all know Wawa?
Walgreens?
Uh,
Helen Keller?
Wawa.
more B's, more C's, and more E's, but yes. Great time.
Have y'all ever been to Wawa?
I don't know what that is.
Oh,
It's a gas station.
It's not just a gas station. It's a convenience store.
Very nice.
And it's 7-Eleven, but way better. Best sandwiches. I can still taste the chicken parmesan.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we should probably talk about beer at some point on this beer podcast. You guys want to crack that Krasitsky?
That's not a grizzly.
It's not Krasitsky.
Oh, wait, what's this?
It's a Barleywine.
Oh!
So going back to
the
live-
Live Oak anyway.
Yes. So Live Oak, like I called out, they do traditional style lagers across many different nationalities. One of the neat things about Live Oak is it's not really like some breweries are focused on production, turnaround time, etc. It seems like intention and quality are first and foremost in their model. That may be a luxury to many other breweries, of course. But what they can do is
it smells
lager
incredible.
for, 10, 12, 24 weeks at a time if they need to. Just leave it in there,
Yeah.
and that flavor just builds and builds and builds. And John, you can probably talk more like scientifically about why that makes sense. But
Yeah, I mean, beer is a living thing. So, in a lot of the commercial big beer guys, they actually will run it through like either a heat pipe or they'll do some kind of a micron filter to like take out the yeast and just strip all the like living stuff out of it to make it shelf stable. But old school traditional lagers and certainly things like, these barley wines age a lot more like wine, really. The yeast is still in there. The yeast is still active. So even after the fermentation is primarily done, which just means the yeast have turned most of that sugar into alcohol, the yeast are still in there. And they can live a long time just kind of reabsorbing some of the byproducts of fermentation. So if they're producing things like, esters or phenols, or in the case of like that buttery taste you can get in kind of weird lagers sometimes, is a chemical called diacetyl. So if you let those yeast kind of sit around at the end, they'll reabsorb those things. So people who know how to take care of their yeast and know how long to let them kind of do their thing before they package the product, that's how you can get some truly, truly exceptional beer. Or you can just put it in a heat pipe and put a bunch of fruit juice in it.
So this is Old Tree Hugger barley wine, coming in at 10%, 12-ounce can, made in the shade.
It's exceptional.
I don't see any descriptions or anything on Untappd. So David, have you had this before?
no,
So this
It's
is your first time.
very exceptional.
yeah.
But I do like how Live Oak, when you get, I guess, a flight or small samples or whatever, they print out this little piece of paper that accompanies the beer. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. So as opposed to a general tasting of a flight where you just kind of get the name of the beer and you might have a menu next to you, for their selections, they have printed out a tasting notes and guide
That's
through.
super cool.
So it's unique, but they put it in with each beer that you get. So it's kind of guided, self-guided.
I'm a big fan of those little added experiences because, I mean, it's a little bit more time probably for the bartender or whoever's doing it to take that time.
If that.
I
mean, it's good for the consumer, but it's also really good for Live Oak, and that's for one reason, and that's because it makes a photo opportunity even better.
That's right. Yeah, you got to grant that.
But this beer was only available in can. While I was certain it was delicious, I wasn't certain that I needed to kill a whole can of it. So I brought some back to share.
10-second tasting notes, since tasting beer is not great.
You say that, but it does. So, that's what the show is. We don't have to remind people.
Right. I just think it's funny now. It's like a trope for me.
It's just tons of caramel, and sometimes you only.
But
get
it's
that
not super cloying. It's just really, really well balanced out, and you can tell that the aging is really kind of what's behind that. In my opinion,
it looks like caramel. It tastes like caramel.
Sometimes you only get those notes after longer barrel treatments and sitting.
Well, also if beers to this high ABV, what is this, 10 point something, 10%? Yeah, those will be hot when they're young too. You'll taste that booze. You don't taste that.
The booze isn't there.
There at all.
It's quite pleasant. Good head retention.
Yeah,
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. And I'm not a BIL. I'm not #BIL.
Really?
Barley wine is life. No, I don't gravitate towards barley wine. It's just too much.
I get on phases.
Yeah.
You also drink Old English, so.
Hey, man.
Are y'all part of that Facebook group?
Barley wine is life?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I'm a lurker, I guess. I don't really contribute all that much.
It is funny because every once in a while, I think for the most part, our friends in Kentucky are kind of the same way. They lurk. But until they're presented an opportunity, and then they'll post in the group, and I get a notification. And I was like, "Oh, that person's in the group too."
Surprise!
Yeah, it's like the weirdos, but they're across the state. So we'll see some Lexington people post in there.
Are there many chug videos in the Barley Wine is Life?
A ton.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys are sick.
Oh, you got a solo
you
down
guys are
that.
sick.
Yeah. There's
Animals.
There's whole months. There was teams and all the. I mean, it's high politics for sure.
Right, does anybody want to defend the Barley Wine is Life position to me?
Well,
is barley wine life?
Name a beer style that's better.
Crispy boys, lagers, pilsners, pale ales.
Where's your flavor?
If I want this, I'll make hot chocolate, or I'll if I want something sweet, this is just, I don't know. For me, beer is, I take it for refreshment.
So you can't drink wine?
Well, I don't drink that much wine. I like wine, and I can pretend I'm snobby when I drink wine. When I'm drinking this, I just kind of feel like I need to be posting memes and 4chan about Barley Wine is Life.
That's just how you feel, man.
Yeah.
That's
not. I would say that the Barley Wine is Life movement is actually a little bit more poetic than the actual
All right, I love
story
this. Lay it
of
on me.
Barley wine being life. Nobody is claiming that barley wine. Maybe some people are, but the point wasn't to say that this is the only beer style you should be drinking. The point is, wow, this is a beer style that isn't very popular, but we love it.
Sure.
And it should be more popular. And so it was started by Alex, and then all of a sudden just blew up, right?
It took a while. I wouldn't say all of a sudden, but
no, I mean it definitely took.
I definitely think we're
Maybe the barley wine's kind of gross.
We're definitely the precursors to the Kentucky Common equivalent of that.
Sure,
totally.
Kentucky Common's life.
Yeah,
Kentucky Common is life.
Okay, so I'm gonna go home and start up a Facebook group. I'll be on the
KCIL. Yeah.
I'm actually going to do that. So if you're listening to this, check it on Facebook.
Our new project, Kentucky Common is Life.
If we take on one more project,
it's a Facebook group. Who cares?
I love it. But all that being said, what my actual critique of barley wines and whatnot is, not many people do them as well as this. If this is barley wine, I can see where you're coming from.
My consensus is that it's a revolt against the pastry era is you go big and you go heavy in sugar and residual sweetness and adjunct and whatnot. And then there's the counterculture. It's we can make all of that with caramel, Rolo's flavors, nuttiness, all this, but it's no bullshit added. It's just barley wine. So it's kind of old head, new head versus,
I can get behind that.
I think that's where some of the cult mentality comes from. It's we have those flavors, but we don't need to add stuff into it. Adjuncted barley wines are fine too.
I can get into an American barley wine sometimes when they put those hops in there kind of late in the aging process to bring out some of those floral notes. That can be fun.
That's heresy.
Well, I'm American.
I'm excited because it was just got some straight jacket.
Yeah.
Revolution.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that's
Pretty
probably
excited.
quite essential.
Well, for me, beer is fuel, and this, like, I feel like if I drink all this, it's so much sugar that I'm going to go to
But
sleep.
isn't that like you're saying it's fuel? But isn't this more experiential because you are taking every sip with like intent?
I'm just trying to get through it so I can go back to drinking this Pilsner.
Are you mad that your gas tank is full? I mean, like that's a hot take for 2022,
Yeah.
my friend. But yeah,
Some people like double chocolate Doppelbox. Some people like traditional light bock. I'm on the light side.
Oh, guys.
so if you get out to Austin, Live Oak is
Yeah.
obviously a great option.
And they do barley wine, and they do Pilsners, and they do, like, everything.
Well,
They do Grodziskis.
Yeah.
If you want to do Pilsners, if you want to go like Lame Jane, John.
Yeah.
But if you want to not, well,
No, their Pilsners are great.
yeah, I just
Yeah.
threw out some negative connotation for a place that I really enjoyed.
and drink what makes you happy at the end
Play
of the day.
play some frisbee, golf frisbee,
Yeah.
you know? I mean,
Or get cans of
disc
this and
golf, whatever they call it.
make
That's
chugging
that.
videos and post them to hashtag BIL.
I was going to segue into Austin Beer Garden Brewery,
Oh, I've been there. That's
but I
great.
didn't want to make it negative, so you guys like filled that in
Okay.
because that was amazing. They've won multiple GABF medals. They have giant like signs that say just pills, pills, pills
Nice.
across their stage.
Nice.
It was awesome. They don't have a single item that's hazy, which would appeal to a lot of people.
Yep.
Great food.
Scott
too.
Hand is smiling on his down on his.
I'm
right
pretty sure that's the place in Austin that has like a secret employee or brewery employee area.
Nice.
Well,
Like,
it's not a secret anymore.
Yeah, now it's like just
sure.
Well,
Well,
To our
you
millions
still,
of
you-
listeners.
you still have to give the passcode or whatever. You have
Yeah.
to know somebody to get in. But I'm pretty sure, and our friend Kyle Yan from Goodwood, I think was the one that told me about this originally. That like,
he's now banned.
yeah, oops.
You just
But
outed him. You're a narc.
I think you still have to know somebody to get in.
Sure.
But regardless, I guess you can go in there and drink something off the tap for free and just like hang out on
Nice.
couches.
It feels like
Which-
kind of like a green room. or
It
something.
sounds awesome, and I'd love to see that replicated here. I mean,
Yeah,
what's
totally.
what's to stop, West 6 Nulu to opening up their upstairs area
Mhm.
on a non-event night?
Yeah.
And be like,
industry.
yeah, just go up.
Yeah.
Pour yourself a beer.
Are you
I'm just,
saying we should open a speakeasy? Is that what you're telling me? 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
let's
kind
have
of
it.
all about it.
I mean, Kentucky Common Speakeasy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll make the new Facebook group. Then we're gonna open a speakeasy. Then we're gonna play in the little beer week.
We're gonna buy new chairs.
Buy new chairs.
Buy new-
Yeah, that's right.
So with your Patreon, please, you can help us accomplish our goals.
I bet they have nice
Uh,
stools. At
I for one am just happy that you're mentioning this a week after I was there. Thank you.
well, I didn't want you to have too good of a time. Did you enjoy it though? I mean, it was good.
Oh yeah,
Did you eat?
I did have a little bit of food. It was amazing. My coworker pretty much ordered one of everything on the menu
Nice.
and then ate it all. The only other standout place that I went, and it wasn't really a beer trip, was Meanwhile Brewing out there. It's big. It's like old, not old, retrofitted like warehouse space, and then it has a big giant garden with like a whole like kids play place in it and everything. Like it's just very Texas, but huge.
I don't claim to know Austin that well, but do you know where about that was?
In South Congress, South Lamar
Okay.
type area, on the south side of the city. But great time. We ran into Caitlin Johnson, who we had out for the little beer week.
Nice.
Big world, small girl.
Yes, very fun. She was actually meeting some other people from Minnesota that were
Very
beer
cool.
people. We had a great time out there. Austin was a trip, man. But I am so happy to be back in Louisville.
Hell yeah.
If you've ever been to like cities that are way too big, it's like, it's 20, 30 minutes to get
Yeah.
anywhere you're
Well,
going.
Texas, everything is like, yeah,
Yeah, so I was just so happy to be like, I need to get home from the airport. How long is that going to take?
3 minutes.
13 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, absolutely. Yeah, it's totally fine. And I missed a lot of stuff, but I know there's stuff going on this next coming week.
Well, that's funny because our next topic this week is Louisville and beer events, or just events in general.
Yeah, I think that's what he was getting at.
I know. I was just trying to screw up the
Real-
natural transition.
Real fast though, have y'all ever heard about this thing that Louisville's like the next Austin? Like I feel like
I have
I've been
heard that.
hearing that for the
Mhm.
last couple of years.
I hope not, I guess. I like it for what it is.
I mean, we've got our. So saying that, it's like obviously I think they started like to keep Austin weird before we did.
No, yeah, that's the thing. Portland,
did
Oregon,
that, yeah.
Austin, Texas,
Yeah.
and then Louisville. I mean, we have to come up with our own slogan, guys. But
Keep Louisville beard.
I've thought about that. Yeah.
Okay, so I get we have a larger audience, but I've been thinking about this for like the last 3 days, so I'm just going to throw it out
Yeah,
here.
let's do it.
But Austin, right? River runs through the city.
Yep.
Louisville, river runs right along the city. So essentially, if Louisville were to be the size of Austin, it would encompass southern Indiana,
Yep.
Yeah.
into Clarksville, into Jeff,
Yep.
and then that big circle would come all the way around to basically the south side of 264.
Yeah.
And I think that would be Austin size.
But the whole
We're not
thing
talking about
is
size,
like,
we're
it's
talking
like the
about culture.
vibe. Yeah, like we got all these.
Oh, sorry, I
indie,
missed
like,
the vibe.
indie restaurants,
The
like little
vibe?
craft breweries. Our music scene, I hear,
Like-
is good.
Okay, when did any of you say the vibe?
It's always about the vibe.
Louisville's the next Austin. We're not trying to whatever.
We're not going to change our name to Austin.
Like South
But
South
it's the
Congress.
vibe.
South Congress is.
We don't even have South Streets. We have 4th Streets and 3rd ones.
We have parkways
We have parkways and they're beautiful.
and parks.
Anyway, that's just something
But
I've
those
heard for
parks
years,
lead
and then I've even had people come into Austin from Austin to Louisville, and they're like, you know what? This reminds me of Austin 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely a vibe in Louisville, and we definitely got some good stuff going on. Like, it gets more fun to live here every year, basically. There's new things to
Austin
do.
has barbecue. We have Burgoo.
Yeah. The Burgoo taste off. Did you guys go down there and try any Burgoo at Against the Grain last
I
week?
ate so much Burgoo.
Yeah.
The most burgoo I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. It's just like,
I had probably 40 ounces of Burgoo.
that's amazing.
It was really neat to try. Everyone's different interpretations. It's loosely interpreted via the contest, but showed up and
Listen,
Mueller was already like batting his like forehead with the
I had meat sweats.
yeah, and I was like, how could you possibly have meat sweats? This is basically chili. And then like 6 cups in, I'm like, oh no, I need an angiogram stat.
Yeah.
I felt so good and so bad afterwards at the same time.
yeah.
I will say there was one booth. They did awesome. However, it was gumbo.
Mm.
Like it tasted amazing,
Mhm.
but it was gumbo.
Mhm.
It wasn't Burgoo.
What's the difference? Rice?
There was no rice. I think they used like a Chardonnay base, and then they
Mm.
had seafood in it.
Okay,
so-
gotcha.
Which
Burgoo
technically I
has
shouldn't have
to
eaten
be
anyway.
Yeah,
I could have
Burgoo
died.
has to be made with roadkill. Is that right?
It's mutton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Or
my family always joked
Pork
about that.
shoulder. There were a couple good booze. Several of them did it with a little bit of vinegar base in it.
That
so it
sounds
had
like a very
little,
good boo.
little twang.
So shout out to Against the Grain for
Yeah, that was a
hosting
cool
the
idea.
first inaugural
Yep,
inaugural Burgoo Festival at the Smokehouse. I hope to see it again next year.
I bet we will. That's freaking awesome. Let's also shout out while we're just talking about Louisville beer stuff. Gallant Fox tore down a wall in their tap room over in Clifton and doubled almost the size of their tap room.
Basically,
Yeah.
They had they had that original tap room, and then they had the other side of the wall as storage area. Over the last couple of months, they renovated the storage area to include like booths.
Yeah.
But the wall was still there, and they just took out the door, like literally just like off the hinges, and so you could walk back there and sit in booths. Well, I walked in there the other day to deliver some passports.
Nice.
And I didn't recognize the place at all, because even though I had seen the booths there before,
Yeah.
with the wall gone, completely torn out, the place was huge.
Nice.
They had tables in the middle of the tap room now. It was awesome. I mean, it completely changes the vibe of the entire place.
Yeah.
Check it out if you haven't seen it yet.
Shout outs to Gallant Fox. They are also opening up a new satellite place out in, well, I wouldn't say satellite. I guess, is it going to be more production, right?
It's
Both.
a production
Yeah.
warehouse out in Bullitt County.
But I mean, there's going to be a restaurant there.
Yeah, the
and,
food menu
they're
looks
going to have
dope.
everything.
I was talking to Patrick was in here today. I was talking to him about the food. He's like, yeah.
First brewery in Mount Washington.
I think they said ever,
Or Bullitt.
perhaps. I can't remember.
it's
maybe-
Mount Washington.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah.
In Bullitt County.
But not even that though. Like the Clifton area, watch out over the next few months, because they have the other wall
Yeah.
on the other side of the tap room
They're gonna
that
grow
they're
again.
also going to tear down. And so pretty soon, like that entire building will be theirs.
Yeah.
They're going to extend the bar out. It's going to be such a completely different vibe than
Yeah.
what it was.
Well,
when
hey,
they
if you
first
follow us
opened.
on social media, like go if you're on I think on our YouTube as well, you can go back to a few years ago and see a video that we did with them, a First Pours video when they were first opening.
Not even open yet.
Yeah, they weren't even open yet. I don't think so.
it was
I can't
back
remember.
in 2020.
Yeah. And I think we went in and just got a little pan of what that space looked like and just their tap room, the way that they've integrated into the community. Like, people stand Gallant Fox. Like, they are Clifton's brewery, and they've got a great following. Like,
Yeah.
I'm super happy for them.
Yep.
And their beer is always incredibly good. Like, I've never had a bad experience there.
They do good work, and it's always rotating. Like, one of their like facets is just like, you go in there and it's going to be a different tap list than probably you saw the week or the week before. And that's, just keeps things interesting. And especially for like a local, I used to too early, but like 5 years prior to them opening, I lived about 6 houses down.
Nice.
Had I, like
Would have
done
been
that.
awesome.
Oh yeah, I would have been there all the time.
To be fair, you've got a pretty good situation where you are now. Monic and Atrium.
I still go there.
Chimera.
I still go there. It's
Yeah,
fine.
Logan Street.
But I can't.
Logan Street, Wild Hops. Yep,
I
exactly.
can't just walk out the house and go over there. But all the best to them. They're working on it, and they're making something that's unique. The production side of it too, of like going to Bullet and building up a bigger scenario and restaurant and everything else is a huge undertaking. So,
well, there are different ways to open a bit, like to start a business, and we can probably, we're kind of bootstrappers or whatever. I really like respect let me rephrase that. There's kind of not only two, but there's two ends of the way to open a brewery. Some people come in with $1 million and you buy a building and you renovate it and you make it look beautiful and you get a 5 or 7 or 13 barrel system. And you just go, you hit the ground running and you go bang, 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 bang. Some people kind of start as homebrewers, and like Roger even just originally, I think, had that place to homebrew out of, and was eventually like, well, if I'm paying for this, I might as well. Yeah. He got it to,
if I remember,
play cards with his buddies and just hang out.
If I remember,
his wife was like, get this shit out of the garage.
correctly. Yeah.
Really? I've never heard that. part
Both
of the story
Patrick
before.
and Roger.
But that was when they only had they didn't even have where they are now. They only had that front little area. So it was like, it was like that room that we just started leasing over there.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, it was both of their wives saying, you have too much stuff in the house.
So then they got the rest of it so they could have a place for their beer stuff. And then they were like, we might as well be able to deduct all this stuff on our taxes and start a little business. So they just opened up a little small, nonchalant tap room, grew, got more space, grew. And now they got more space, grow. So I love bootstrapped things like that.
Yeah.
Home brewed businesses are my favorite. Although I love the big guys too.
Yeah. I think like undertakings like that though, I mean that's gonna be a big thing to do, especially incorporating the restaurant aspect.
Oh, yeah.
And then going into from a non-debt
They're starting
model
a whole new
to
business
a
now.
debt model.
Yeah.
And
But it's good to have something before you incur debt. It's like, it's good to have revenue and cash flow before you have to have like a mortgage, or not a mortgage payment, but a loan payment every month.
I remember, who was it? Like one of the local papers or publications around here. They decided to publish an opening date for Gallant Fox.
Oh yeah.
That's kind.
But like it was completely off base and they wouldn't open for another year.
Nice.
So there were a couple people that literally like almost a joke every weekend. I was working at Akash at the time, and this guy would come into Akash and be like, still not open, man. Just tried the doors.
That's amazing. Was there a Wild Hops beer going on this week too that we wanted to promote?
Yeah,
Talk about?
I did see, on the topic of Logan Street and where David lives.
Yeah.
I was really interested in this.
Where David
He lives at Logan Street.
He
Market.
lives at Logan Street.
There's a little closet by the bathroom.
I'm not going to pretend to know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to completely mispronounce this. But Wild Hops, who we did a collab with back in February, they created a Gotlandsdrike.
Okay, I'm buying it.
Gotlandsdrike.
Just say it fast.
Gotlandsdrike.
Yeah.
Made with Kentucky barrel smoked malt from Sugar Creek Malt Company.
Oh, hell yeah.
And locally harvested juniper boughs.
Nice. I definitely want to go try that.
There's a pronunciation. Gotlandsdrike.
Nice.
It hails from the island of Gotland off the coast of Sweden.
Oh, yeah, Gotland.
Traditionally, it would have been made with a birch smoked malt, but we decided to make a slight smoked variation for terroir's sake. Terroirs.
Terroir? Yeah.
Terroir.
To,
I can read. I have to go to words.
It's a French thing,
We started gathering our ingredients for this beer approximately 4 months ago. In the truest of Kentucky moments, it started with an extra barrel that was sitting around. The barrel wasn't quite up to snuff to age beer in, so we found a resourceful way to work with it. The barrel was taken up to Sugar Creek's facility and used to smoke malt in their rustic smokehouse. Next, we drove 40 miles east of the brewery to harvest juniper boughs. These boughs were then taken back to the brewery and boiled initially, and the infused water was then used to steep the barrel smoked malt and the rest of the grain bill. From there, it continued on as a straightforward brewing process with a delicate hop addition and a fresh pitch of farmhouse yeast.
Nice.
The farmhouse aroma pairs perfectly with the crisp earthiness of the juniper, and the subtle smoke smooths out the finish. It's
Chapter 2.
Kvistel or twig beer in Swedish.
It's a Kvike, I'm assuming, if it's one of those like Norwegian farmhouse beers.
Possibly. It doesn't mention Kvike, but
That's how they make that.
It looks pretty, and I really want to try it.
Yeah.
Especially
if you've ever had those like traditionally made Norwegian farmhouse beers like that, those were hot in the homebrewing community, like right when the Kvike stuff was getting hot on Milks of Funk and whatnot. Like, when was that? Probably like 2019, maybe 2018, 2019. If you guys want to learn more about the style, the Lars blog guy, I don't know if you guys follow him, but he's like I think he's Swedish or German. He's like somewhere over there, but he travels all around, and he kind of popularized this historic method of brewing that existed basically kind of in the areas all around the Baltic Sea, kind of like, or is that the Black Sea up there? Whatever. That's the Baltic, right?
Baltic is
Baltic.
Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia.
And that's where they started isolating these the yeast strains that these guys were using, and they were like, this is an entirely different kind of yeast. It's like when some scientist goes into the rainforest and finds some like beetle that's like completely different than any other thing they've ever seen before or something. So those Kvike yeast were just it looks like they split off from the genome of the yeasts that kind of got more domesticated into the brewing world like hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and have just been kept alive in this little region. I don't even know if that's the yeast I use, so I shouldn't have gone on this long.
But you know what, though? I will go on record and say that you, John, brought Kvike to Louisville. Yeah,
we did the collab with Omega Yeast and Mile Wide. Yeah. Omega was really one of the ones, besides, the big one. Well, Bootleg Biology, too, I would give a lot of credit to. And then finally White Labs, too, and now everybody. But Omega was great.
But you were one of the OGs.
Well, I mean, maybe in Louisville. Yeah, and even then, not even in the homebrew community. Like, the homebrewers had been asking us for that stuff, and I've been trying to find it. So,
and then
everything I know is crowdsourced from
and
other
then
people.
Everybody else started using it. So,
well, it's a beast, man. It makes like fast fermentation. Yeah. And you kind of got to watch it on the generations. It seems like it can kind of turn on you. So you want to kind of make sure that your pitches are staying.
You can't use it for 18 generations.
You can. You just want to keep an eye on it because it can go off on you. But a lot of people say that the problem is that you're supposed to let it dry out completely in between uses. They make those cool little like wooden wreath rings, and they would just drop it down into the yeast sludge, and then they would pull it out at the end and hang it up to dry. And then instead of pitching your yeast when you're ready to
just dunk it,
you just drop it down into your next beer. And that's where the yeast comes from. And cool. A lot of people say that that drying out process kills off the kind of more mutated and weak cells, and only the
strong survive.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very interesting topic. Hopefully this is interesting to our audience.
No, you guys are fucking nerds.
Anyway, and I hate Barleywine as live people for being dorks, right? So look at me.
Look at you.
Yeah. You want to shout out Bachfest?
No, I want to talk about you. You said smoke malt, and we just have to talk about this. I mean, we just did a beer. Friday with Fall City and Ethereal Brewing out of Lexington. They came in and we're gonna go back to Live Oak, but Grzycki, Polish style lager.
I've been wanting to do it with Cam for over a year.
Yeah, we were talking earlier too about whenever we do collabs, like I always feel like I want to look at the recipe and just have any that. Whenever it's with Cam, it's like, hey Cam, just
you got
take it away, man. As Ryan Berg said earlier, Cam is a wizard. Yeah,
certainly, yeah. But there was definitely some inspirational bits to it. So we made a Polish smoked lager.
Heck yeah.
That'll be out in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
It'll be one of our legend collabs. So if you follow the Louisville Ale Trail page, we'll start sharing those collabs on the Kentucky Commons accounts and stuff too, just because it's all kind of connected.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. Time is a flat circle.
All right. Well, it's going to be a good beer.
It's going to be great.
Yeah. So I hope
I'm
you
very, very, very excited for that.
We drank like a couple cups of the wort.
Yeah.
It's
pretty good.
A little
smoky.
Not even though. It was kind of just an aftertaste.
We should serve it with a side of Little Smokies.
Or like some cocktail smokers.
Yeah. There might be a special, incredibly pretentious. There might be some pretentious activities going on with the release of this very traditional Polish beer.
But I'm so obviously I'm excited for the beer. We've been championing that kind of beer style a lot recently. But I'm also really excited that we were able to pull in a friend from Lexington.
Yeah. Those ethereal guys are so awesome.
Yeah. So shout out to Brandon and If you're in Lexington and you want to be part of this,
if you're in Lexington listening,
reach out.
We're
in Western Kentucky.
I was about to say not just Lexington.
If you're in Western Kentucky,
if you're anybody,
if from Pikeville to Paducah,
That's
we
right.
want you.
From the hood to the holler.
From the hood to the holler, we want you.
Yeah.
If you're in Anchorage, Alaska, or maybe
Anchorage, Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great.
No, it was a great time hanging out with those guys.
Yeah. So we'll get you the release date whenever that's like ready to go. That'll age out for a little while, but it won't be too long.
Sure. Yeah. Good time hanging out. Two quick things. Full City has a mash press because you were being nerdy, so now I got to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a mash press.
Mm-hmm.
It's something like I've never seen before in a brewing operation. Maybe you just haven't seen enough brewing operations.
Is that like when you have a beer and some candy at the house and you
that's
put it in a coffee
that's
press?
a French press.
We've also done videos on that on the channel.
Similar scenario, but like I feel like most brewery tours are just like, oh, here's a big metal tank and here's another big metal tank,
Yeah.
and when this one gets a little pressurized, we push it over to this metal tank, and then there's alcohol. But really, the brewing process over at Fall City was super unique for me personally. Kind of when you get that mash in and get all your dough in and water and everything. What you're left with at the end of the sparge is just a tank full of empty grain.
Spent grain.
Yeah. So the system that Fall City has in place is like a multi-plate, like 36 plates, I think, across. And they're about like 40 pounds a piece that you have to push into this essentially like conveyor belt. And it pressurizes to about 4,000 pounds of pressure. With a backing plate. And then once you're done, getting those initial starches out, you run everything through that mash press. And what it does is it doesn't separate water from liquid when it comes in the tube. Once it goes through these, each individual plate has a screen and a filter on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it runs it through everything and eventually separates like grain from filter, from hull to husk, all down to the water. But what it does is it helps your efficiency grow like 15-20%.
Very
because
interesting.
you can literally squeeze every single bit of liquid out of this press that's pressurized. That's all I wanted to say about that, but it's really cool.
Yeah, man. Well, again, Cameron knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He did you guys do it on the big system or the little system?
The big system.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen that.
That's
I've
why
only ever brewed on their
we
small
used
one.
the mash press,
Okay.
because it was on the larger system.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they know what they're doing for sure. Speaking of kind of traditional European beers, we'll also shout out Bachfest, which is coming up Saturday. So
Saturday.
you once again will have already experienced it
Too
by
late.
the time this comes out. But hopefully,
That's fine.
Hopefully, we have had seen you there in the past. But that's always a super fun event. So we'll report back next week on how it was. But there will be goats.
There will be good.
And there will be beer.
We'll edit this. It was great.
It was great.
I really wish that guy hadn't died. We can just edit that in depending on how it goes.
Okay, I see. Yeah, it could be tragedy. Really glad that that keg of beer spoiled and everybody was projectile vomiting all over everybody else. Yeah, or I'm really glad that nice sweet goat won. Yeah. Speaking of which, the other topic we were going to talk about, we talked about it a little bit with Kinsey last week, and it kind of got all of our wheels spinning.
You mean Jimmy's in a Russell?
You guys are making so many like references that I do not.
Never
Oh, it
had
got
your
our Jimmy's in a Russell? Yeah, it got our Jimmy's in a Russell. That's okay. Yes. Burnout in the craft beer industry. Like I think she has some podcast episodes that she's been have released. It's again that past present tense thing. I'm not sure if it's come out yet.
Not to be confused with Burnout, the video game started by Acclaim Industries in 2001.
I'm not familiar with that franchise.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it a racing game?
It is. And the goal is to crash your car and burn out.
Yeah.
David, I have a confession. As long as we're on the topic of video games, I borrowed David's Xbox, and I don't think I can talk about this, so never mind. So cut that.
Nothing's getting cut. This is the price we pay. Do you guys, I don't know. So we work in the beer industry, and we actually can just talk about it in general.
We do not work in the beer industry. We're beer adjacent.
Yeah. Well, I do to some extent. We're around
John does.
We're around beer professionally, is what I'm trying to say.
John definitely does.
Yeah.
I do not. David.
Well, David's opening up the jumpsuit.
David.
We're all probably repping
I'm an
brewery
employee.
teas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I have Gallant Fox on. We were just talking. My glass is mile-wide nipple clips. Yeah. Does it get tough being around it all day? Like, even, do you ever get sick of it? Or if it's actually not related to beer, like, do you get that sense of burnout at work? I mean, we all do, obviously. And I feel like I just read another thing about the Great Resignation has ticked up like another 40% with people trying to find new work and moving on to like other opportunities or reevaluating. We're all having a midlife crisis because of probably the year 2020, 2021.
Sure.
Anyway, how you guys doing?
Well, I think
My therapist wanted me to ask you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, John's therapist. I appreciate that sentiment. I really think that because of those, 2 years that things were reevaluated on at large scale, personally, hopefully everyone personally reevaluated at least a few things.
Yeah, I think that, yeah.
You have to take time for yourself and make yourself the priority to things.
Mm-hmm.
As Kinsey mentioned in the last episode, it was good about like how you can be in beer but be adjacent through like different industries, and you don't necessarily have to be a brewer or a server or anything else to be involved in the industry, and that's super relevant. But then brewing the collab with Brandon from Ethereal is like, hey, like, do you have a job? And I'm like, yeah, no, I totally have a job. I'm like, I took off work to do this job.
You guys both have incredibly demanding jobs too. Like,
this job is just way more fun to do this.
Yeah.
So I spend my time and effort elsewhere. But truly, the part of the trip to Austin was just kind of getting out of the headspace of
just
work.
reset your RAM a little bit, kind of.
A little bit. There's a big thing with corporations right now where they're just not valuing people's time.
The 9 to 5 is like an idea that is as old as like you work for a company and then you get a gold watch like after 40 years.
But there's
like,
no,
it just doesn't exist.
I would like argue that the 9 to 5 is just dead.
Yeah, it's
like,
dead.
It's
unless you work at like, in retail, like unless you work at a very, if you're salaried, it maybe is still a thing. Oh, like if you're just punching in and punching out.
No, salary is way worse.
It's worse.
Oh,
yeah.
100 times
I haven't had a
worse.
job in a long time. So
no, shift work is the opposite of what we're talking about right now.
Shift work would be awesome.
Yeah, it's when they get you on that salary that you are now belong to. Like
well, you have,
and this is not all companies because you guys actually both work for great companies.
Sure,
everybody can stand up to criticism and stuff like that. But we all know people, whether we work for them or not, that may have. How would you describe it? Micromanaging tendencies?
No, it's not. It's not even that. It's not the micromanaging. So you called out two different points, right?
Yeah.
So the salary versus hourly thing. So one shift work is amazing, but it pays less, like considerably less. And then salary is a demanding job that you don't have a true detachment from because your hours are variable, as needed. On call, etc., which I think is the world that both of us, me and Muller, live in, and you too, because you take like homebrew calls all the time.
Yep.
And I will just say that's been amplified even more when more people started working from home.
Sure.
And the lines have been blurred
Yep.
to what is
100%.
what is work and what is home.
100%.
Yeah, in 2020, I went from working like 45-hour weeks to working like 70-hour weeks, and then down to like 15-hour week. It was a really unhealthy cycle of like
What am I
being
doing?
way too overworked and then burnt out and like
Yeah.
I can't do it, and then going back on like, oh, I'm catching up. So it really messes with your mentality around your productivity too, of like, how do I get away from work? And like, honestly, just take the PTO, leave,
Yeah.
go away.
What happens if you just say no or set boundaries? Is that like frowned upon in corporate culture? I'm not a good example of this because I have no boundaries. Like I also work like 80 hours a week.
I don't live in, I guess what I would say, corporate America.
Yeah.
But there is
Just from what we've heard our friends say. It doesn't have to be from our own personal experience.
no, I'm fine to talk about whatever, but it's more along the lines of like, if you're a person that's genuine and values your work and values your input, you're more apt to put in more effort to it.
Yeah.
Just because you want a good name and like fortune for what you're doing. And I think that's where they get you, like the good ones, you know, where you're just like, I want to make sure this goes right, even if it means I need to spend an extra 2 hours on a Tuesday night or something, you know.
It's all about what you personally want to get excited about. Like if you have a job that you really enjoy, but then that is like, you can be grateful for a job and do a really good job for that company.
Yeah.
But if you have something that you're a little bit more interested in on the side,
Totally.
you're going to be thinking about that all the time.
Yeah.
Regardless of the fact that you actually really enjoy your day job. And so what happens is for the people that have that enjoyment for their day job, but don't necessarily have something on the side,
Yeah.
that becomes their whole life, their whole shtick. And that's not a criticism. Like, because they always say
our culture now.
They always say that like if you have a job that you love, you never work a day in your life.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just the question of like, which job do you want to have?
I don't believe in that though. I think that you work no matter what.
I think Mark Twain put it better. The goal is to try to make your vocation your vacation. That's like the way I've always liked to view that.
Yeah. I mean, but I can tell you just from working on Ale Trail stuff and Kentucky Commons Radio Hour, like what we're doing right now, this is a commitment. I am committed to coming into this homebrew shop once a week for 3 to 4 hours.
Well, we all put in about as much time on like this as we do, you know, on almost anything that's not like the 9 to 5.
But here's the thing.
Whatever.
I don't ever like dread this.
Yeah, totally.
It's work.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have really heated discussions just off podcast, but like
sometimes on the podcast.
Sometimes on the podcast.
Did you hear the Barleywine is live segment?
Right. But like it's not sometimes it can be difficult. Sometimes it's frustrating.
But it's not like being in a meeting like with some fucking dumbass asshole boss like I used to have.
But the issue is, or it's not the issue, but the thing is about it is that like, hey, this is my baby and I really care about it.
That's right. Yeah.
Some people have that in their lives to where they can care something about this. I'm on a soapbox right now.
Yeah.
Sorry. But then if you have that quote unquote 9 to 5, which we all know is more, and that actually is the thing that you do care about, good for you.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, I also hope that you have something else in your life to balance things out, whether it be a side hustle or just, you know, being passionate about rock climbing or something.
Yeah.
Have an outlet.
Yeah, or gardening or like exercising or like, you know, something else. Yeah.
Beaver suits.
Yeah. Craft beer.
Barleywine.
Home brewing. That's homebrewing is that for a lot of people. Like that's what it was for me when I had like soul crushing corporate job in commercial credit insurance. The only thing all day on my computer, I would just watch homebrewing videos and read articles and like whatever. And then I'd do 15 minutes of work every hour. And then like I just, you know, or honestly like 15 minutes of work a day.
It's incredibly unproductive. And I think employers don't understand that.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in that space where you need to be free to creatively, you know, express yourself, then you need that space. You can't.
Google used to do that, like 20% time or whatever, where they'd say 20% of the time you're here, we just want you to work on whatever you want, like some passion project. I don't know if they do that anymore. They're a different company than they used to be.
Well, in the tech world, it's just all kinds of like productivity killing like practices.
Mhm.
And
Email chains, meetings.
we're just getting way off from any
Yeah.
beer topic.
This is just
but
a bit session now at this point. I
no,
guess.
this is your therapy.
Yeah,
that
this is
you
my
paid
therapy.
for.
This is my therapy.
But so for lack of better term, scrum meetings or daily stand-up meetings where you meet in the morning, say 9:30,
Yeah.
basically around the time you come on shift, maybe answer a couple of emails, and then you're on a group call with your team and then your leader, and the obligation is that you're working on something.
Mhm.
Like what'd you do yesterday? What are you going to do today? And you may not know, and today just might be like nothing's going crazy, so I'm gonna just think about a couple other things I could do. But you're in this group environment where it needs to be like, oh, I heard so-and-so wasn't doing anything today. And you're just like, okay.
Shut the fuck up, Bob.
Yeah,
Go back to your cubicle.
Yeah.
Get out of my face.
Fine.
Sorry, Bob. We love you.
But there's other ways to go about. I mean, nobody is productive for 90% of 8 hours, period. Right?
Yeah.
Like it just
impossible.
doesn't work that way. I got fired from a job once because I had, Google Hangouts was on my web browser, and like throughout the day I would like chat my friends. It wasn't like I was devoting my time into being like, oh, this is a super serious conversation about like the fucking hockey game in St. Louis, but it was just like we were just bullshitting about it. And my boss came by and was just like, what are you doing? And I was like, talking about hockey. And it was like, well, you're not doing this report. And no, I am. I just just kind of took a 5-second break to like respond to a message. Like, oh,
I'm building corporate culture right now.
well, no, I mean, like literally
I'm team building.
that was the fireable offense. It's just like, you're not focused. And I'm like, I'm totally focused.
Yeah.
I'm taking a brief break so I can clear my mind for a second, then go back to this. And like,
The last big corporate job that I had years and years and years and years and years ago, we had like, it was in a big building and they had one floor that they were renovating to like try to lease out to some other company. And so there was a bathroom down there and nobody else was on that floor. So I would just go down there and lock myself in that bathroom and nap on the floor for like a couple hours a day. Yeah. Turn out the lights.
do we have any other topics we can talk about?
No, do you guys? I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know if you guys are out there listening. If you have thoughts on this, we'd love to hear them.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're alone. Like, I think this is a thing that everybody is feeling right now. Even if you're in management, I'm sure you're feeling this too.
Just to put a bow on it, it is a little bit harder if you work in the beer industry to unwind, because
and oftentimes that means drinking.
right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and that means drinking. And then like I know plenty of beer people that will go to like a wine shop because they know for sure that's something that they can enjoy, not know too much about.
Yeah.
And chances are they won't run into anybody there
Right.
that they know.
Yeah.
So it's like how they unwind. Instead of drinking beer though, it's wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just having, like you said, like other things to do. Like,
Or even just go drink beer in Austin instead of Louisville. Like
Yeah.
it's something else. You're in a different spot, different mindset. You're not I love everybody in this town, obviously, but I can't go to a brewery at this point and have like
just anonymity
time
and
to
drinking
myself.
Beer. Yeah, right. I go to Barrett Bar.
That's fine. Like,
I just
I'm
go
not
to, like-
complaining.
yeah.
But that's just
Right.
the reality of it.
Yeah.
My tip is if you want to go to a brewery and not be bothered, just show up with a laptop, open the deck of the laptop, and literally just put on sunglasses
And a beaver suit.
And
with
headphones.
with the
Headphones.
hoodie up.
in a beaver suit.
Put your thing up.
Okay.
No,
I'll
David Saddle is not
Yeah.
here anymore.
I'll wear
This
it.
is Bucky, the
This is
beaver.
Bucky the beaver.
He's busy.
I am busy.
Well, another thing you could do is escape reality entirely and drink your beer in the metaverse.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say drugs.
Heroin. Have you ever seen Train Spotting? It's great. So I ran across this in the wide world of beer news today, and I'll save my thoughts on it, and we can get your all's fresh take because I haven't really told you too much about this. So
I have no idea what you're about to say.
did you know, guys, that the world's first virtual beer is here? Cheers to Heineken Silver. Brewing with... I'm just going to read this because of how... I'm just going to read this.
Is
No.
this an MTN situation?
Well, you tell me. Brewing with pixels, not yeast. Heineken, registered trademark, launches first virtual beer brewed in the virtual world. Heineken Silver.
I hate it.
Amsterdam, March 17th, 2022. PR Newswire. Heineken today launched its first brand new virtual beer, Heineken Silver, exclusively in its virtual brewery within the immersive digital platform Decentraland, which is, I think, one of those like open API, like NFT exchange,
Keep going.
places. Yeah. In the real world, Heineken is known for its uncompromising quality, refined from decades of brewing innovation. Now the same brewing expertise that made Heineken, registered trademark world famous, is undergoing a high-tech transformation to take on the metaverse, one pixel at a time. Heineken has always been passionate about natural ingredients, but in a metaverse, it's all about the finest 100% computer-generated ingredients. Our special A yeast, usually brewed in horizontal tanks, has been replaced with A pixels.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you. This
Forget hops. Sorry,
No,
this is getting to the good
No, it's
part.
bad. It's not
getting to the
good.
good part. Forget hops harvested in the fields. Virtual Heineken Silver is brewed with binary coded hops grown by NPC, non-player character farmers. And of course, the whole virtual brewing process is overseen by Heineken's dedicated virtual brewing assistants. Digitized stand-ins for our star brewers. Whenever you hear me emphasize a word, it's scare quotes. These elements come together to develop a completely unique beer that visitors to Heineken's virtual brewery in Decentraland will be able to see in a virtual world. If only they were able to 3D print the product, they'd be able to hold it virtually and taste it themselves. Heineken,
No, I'm
registered
done with
trademark
this.
silver in the real world.
Listen,
Yeah, that's it.
I'm not a freaking boomer. Like I understand
This is
NFTs
stupid, right?
And metaverse stuff
I
Yeah.
embrace culture.
and Ethereum and Bitcoin. Like I get it to an extent, and I'm fine with it. But all these brands and organizations that are jumping on it, not to be part of the actual like blockchain experience, but rather just to get out a new like press release out there. Like Miller High Life just did this during the Super Bowl. Like they created a virtual bar so you can drink a virtual beer with your virtual friends. And then, oh, hey, also it's redeemable for a real Miller Lite in the real world, however that works. I
hate all of this.
hate it.
This press release makes me want to put makes me want to harm myself.
Let me see that though.
It's so cheesy.
You know what though? Like
Goodbye,
I will say,
David's out.
as somebody that like I write press releases, this is my job. This is a bad press release, Heineken.
Yeah. It's like it sounds like you're trying to promote like a high school play. Or, I know even that would have more integrity.
Like
to it.
it's long, it's really weird and full of bad jokes.
And it says nothing. Like
And
what is it?
Why?
Why?
Yeah, you read that for 2 minutes, and
Yeah,
all I
it
got
said
was
nothing.
this is something I don't want.
It said buzzwords that make me cringe. And again, I'm a huge supporter of cryptocurrencies and NFTs and decentralized finance and Web3 shit. This is going to ruin it.
It really would. I mean,
This is why people don't take it seriously. They don't-
Exactly.
You just see people, oh, it's just a cash grab. It's just a scheme. And a lot of it is people just coming in. But again, maybe these are the first adopters. Like maybe this is pets.com.
So,
like
like,
back
they're-
in the web boom.
their boilerplate here, Heineken Silver is brewed with 100% purified pixels,
That makes me want to kill.
triple filtered through firewalls,
So fucking,
and uploaded with 5 million megabytes per second.
Jesus Christ.
For more information on the product, which is fake, by the way,
It's not real.
please
Well,
contact the above, and product fact sheets can be shared.
Gary
So-
V is like cringing at us
Like,
right now.
It's a thing. Like Gary Vee, when he was first talking about NFTs, was like, that seems like an interesting concept. This thing represents the blockchain, and you can own that.
Yeah.
And cool. Like it's very unique, and that makes sense. Now we're just talking about
Like
this.
detritus.
Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna you can't. I'm angry right now, and I'm going to eat this paper, dip it in my microdose from Atrium, and probably eat it.
A non-NFT rage.
Like I hate this shit so much.
So for those of you on our Patreon, you can tell that Michael is now eating the press release.
Like this paper press release,
Yeah.
What does it taste like?
Rage.
whatever it is better than fucking Heineken Silver.
Do we live in a simulation? Is this all like
I was
just
really
trying to open our
surprised
eyes?
that you guys were talking about this after 2 minutes
Yeah.
because I wanted to leave. But
I'm
also,
done.
But also, the person I don't like that much, Elon Musk.
I love Elon.
yeah.
I'll stand Elon.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Really did come out with a quote this week about, do we live in a simulation? He's like, Okay, well, I just want to put into perspective, in the 70s, we had Pong, which was two sliding bars and a little pixel in between, and now we have VR. And if you're not willing to understand that in the next 20 years, VR will be as close to human life as possible, then you probably don't believe in the simulation.
Right.
So, well, we're getting there.
I don't think we live in a simulation, but again,
I don't think we live in one. I think we're going to create our own.
Well, then the point is, if it's possible for us to create our own and it's indistinguishable from reality,
then it's 4D.
Well, how do you know that this is not the simulation?
Listen, man,
it's
we're
4D.
we're not a brain in a vat situation going on right now. Like, we're not Descartes. Like, I think, therefore I am.
The question would be, how could you prove that you lived in a simulation?
It also doesn't matter. Like, if we're a simulation or not, doesn't matter.
Oh,
do the experiences that we
thanks,
have.
Cypher. Remember the Matrix?
Yeah, like, does it really matter? Like, if a chicken tastes like chicken, isn't that good enough?
We need to reread the Allegory of the Cave, I think. But that'll be on next week's podcast, alive. You can be Socrates. You can be Glaucon. I'll be Adamantus.
I want to be.
Actually, I want to be who's the sophist?
I want to be
Thrasymachus?
I want to be the people, the shadow people on the wall.
Yeah, totally. Guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Kentucky Commons Radio Hour.
I'm so sorry.
We have gone wide and far this week. Yeah, we decided we were going to have a more structured episode this week. here's where we ended up. So we really appreciate you guys
Trying to get a press release.
tuning in. Yeah, well, I would say you went a little further than tried. To all the people watching on Patreon, we hope you have appreciated David's beaver suit. I know
it could come back.
This could be a thing. To everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys again next week. Get out there and drink some good Louisville beer.